Concerned but hopeful.
I'm only hopeful if she doesn't win. If she wins, we're going to have a real problem in this country. And the problem will be on the world level, it'll be on a national level, and it'll be on a state level. I don't know what she brings to the table other than disaster.
Brittney Griner's Olympic dream didn't collapse on the basketball court. It got ripped away inside a courtroom, and the one holding the gavel was none other than Piro. Yes, that Janine, the fiery TV judge turned hard-hitting legal bulldog. Of all the people to come for one of the biggest names in women's basketball, nobody expected her to be the one to shut the door on Paris. And the shocking twist? Brittney Griner is officially out of the Olympics. When this story first broke, that Piro was dragging Griner into a courtroom battle, fans couldn't believe it. Many thought it was a fake headline, like some late-night comedy skit where sports and politics crash into each other. But this wasn't a joke. This was real life, and the stakes higher than anyone could have dreamed. We're not talking fines, suspensions, or a slap on the wrist. We're talking about the ultimate punishment, being stripped of the chance to play on the biggest stage in sports history, the Olympic Games. Piro didn't march into this showdown as some ex-judge chasing headlines either. She crowned herself the guardian of the integrity of women's athletics. That bold declaration sent shockwaves everywhere. Why would someone outside the sport launch a full-blown crusade against one of the WNBA's most recognizable stars? From day one in court, it was obvious this wasn't some gimmick case. The judges took it seriously. The media ran wild. And just like that, what people thought would fade into background noise blew up into an international scandal shaking women's basketball at its foundation. The big question buzzing around the world, what dirt could Piro possibly have? And could she really bring down Brittney Griner? At the very peak of her career, Griner suddenly found herself in a brand new kind of game. Not fighting opponents under bright arena lights, but standing trial under harsh courtroom glare. Her legal squad tried to brush the whole thing off, mocking it as outrageous, petty, and out of line. But Piro didn't just show up to argue. She came swinging heavy, firing off accusations that went far beyond trash talk. She wasn't looking for a minor victory. She was gunning for the knockout blow. Piro came out swinging with accusations that cut straight to the heart of women's sports, claiming Brittney Griner had tainted the very soul of competition. She didn't just stop at vague claims either. Piro dragged Griner's training routines, her years playing overseas, and even whispers about so-called unfair advantages into the harshest spotlight imaginable. The courtroom buzzed like a live arena. Judges weren't laughing, they were locked in, leaning forward, absorbing every single word. With each hearing, the tension rose higher, and the scales of justice began tipping away from Griner. The same Brittney Griner who towers over opponents on the hardwood now looked trapped in a game she couldn't control. Inside those walls, her blocks, rebounds, and highlight dunks meant nothing. What mattered was credibility, integrity, and whether her Olympic dream could withstand Piro's relentless crossfire. Every new jab from Piro's legal team piled on more pressure, turning the heat up until even die-hard fans had to admit their superstar was cornered. And then came the shocker. This case that many thought would be tossed out in a heartbeat refused to die. Week after week, Piro kept landing blows, transforming what seemed like a publicity stunt into a gripping legal saga that had the whole sports world glued to every update. Fans outside were stunned. Their hero wasn't walking away untouched. She was actually stumbling under the weight of it all. Then, the thunder finally struck. The judges delivered their ruling, and it rattled women's basketball like an earthquake. Brittney Griner was officially banned from competing in the upcoming Olympics. Just like that, her golden ticket to the world's biggest stage was gone, snatched away in the blink of an eye. For a player who built her legacy on dominating global competition, this wasn't just a punishment. It was a brutal takedown. Analysts didn't mince words either. They declared it the harshest penalty ever handed down to a superstar in modern sports history. Fans were stunned. How could a courtroom decision, led by someone who's never even laced up in a pro game, decide the Olympic fate of one of basketball's biggest icons? The disbelief was unreal, but Piro didn't hesitate to bask in the spotlight. She stood tall, calling the ruling a victory for women everywhere, and bragged that it proved cheating, shortcuts, and bending the rules would never pass on her watch. Meanwhile, Brittney Griner looked frozen, like the air had been punched out of her. For a player used to ruling the paint, this was the first time she'd been boxed out so harshly. And not by a rival forward, but by the slam of a gavel. The ruling wasn't just written down, it was locked, sealed, and impossible to overturn. In that single moment, her Olympic path was gone. The ripple effect was massive. This wasn't just about missing a chance at gold, it rewrote Griner's entire identity in front of the world. She walked into that courtroom a global star, untouchable, one of the brightest names in the WNBA. But she walked out branded by scandal, her reputation cracked wide open, mocked for letting a TV judge, of all people, do what no athlete had ever managed, expose her weaknesses. The analyst who once praised her dominance now flipped the script, dissecting her character instead of her stats. Fans who used to see her as unstoppable suddenly weren't so sure anymore. And her silence after the ruling, it only made things worse.
And I talked to one of the refs when she checks in. Hey, we got history from the first game.
There's not just a voice, there's these pictures, that have come out. And I know a lot of people immediately want to say, well, these are, they're not real pictures, right? They're doctored photographs. But this one I saw, I was like, man, that's actually the girlfriend in the background.
Instead of defending herself, she let the whispers grow louder. To many, it looked like she had no answers left. The fearless center who once swatted shots with ease now looked cornered, flat-footed, and stripped of control. Brittney Griner had dealt with controversy before, but nothing ever cut this deep. All the highlights, the records, the jaw-dropping stats, none of that mattered now. What the world saw was an athlete who got outplayed in the most humiliating way possible. And the craziest part? It wasn't by an MVP rival or a powerhouse coach. It was by Piro, strutting out of the courthouse like she just won a championship, waving that ruling like it was a trophy. But the sting didn't stop there. The fallout twisted fast, almost overnight. Old rumors about Griner came roaring back. Whispers that had chased her for years suddenly became front-page headlines. Speculation about whether she had some kind of unfair advantage in women's sports took center stage again, louder than ever. And this time it wasn't just gossip. It was tied to a legal decision that the whole world was watching. And here's the shocking twist. Piro's own legal team didn't shy away from those whispers. Reports claim they leaned right into it, weaving the speculation straight into their courtroom arguments. In an instant, the storyline shifted. This wasn't just about her Olympic eligibility anymore. It blew up into a worldwide debate about biology, identity, and what fairness in women's athletics even means. Whether people bought into the claims or not almost didn't matter. The second they were stamped into a courtroom fight, the volume skyrocketed, and suddenly everyone had an opinion. For Griner, it was brutal. Critics weren't just questioning her game anymore. They were openly asking if she even belonged in the women's division at all. The mockery got sharper, the headlines harsher, and every ugly take made Piro's victory look even bigger in the eyes of her supporters. What started as losing her Olympic spot turned into something way darker. A perception War Griner thought she had buried years ago, but now it was back, louder and more unforgiving than ever. Once a debate like this explodes, shutting it down is almost impossible. Just think about what this ruling actually means. The Olympics aren't some random tournament. They're the crown jewel, the ultimate finish line that athletes grind for through years of sweat, sacrifice, and discipline. Brittney Griner wasn't just expected to make Team USA, she was seen as a guaranteed lock, the star who would tower over global rivals and bring another gold back home. But now, that dream is gone. Not delayed, not put on hold, gone for good. She isn't missing a season or waiting for a rehab comeback. She's been stripped of the right to represent her country on the world's biggest stage, and that kind of wound doesn't heal easy, no matter how tough the athlete. Fans had already pictured her in red, white, and blue, standing on the podium with another medal. Instead, they'll be watching from afar as their superstar sits sidelined, her golden path shattered almost overnight by scandal. And the blow didn't just hit her pride, it slammed her pockets too. The Olympics aren't just about medals. They're a launch pad for endorsements, sponsorships, and global recognition that can transform an athlete's entire future. Without that spotlight, Griner's career path suddenly looks shaky, and the emotional toll is just as brutal. Imagine dedicating your whole life to one shining moment only to see it ripped away, not by a rival on the hardwood, but by a courtroom ruling with no appeal. For Griner, this wasn't just a stain on her record, it was a direct hit to the legacy she thought was untouchable. And while she tried to absorb the shock, Piro was outside flexing like she just drained a game-winning 3 at the buzzer. She didn't hold back either, calling the ruling not just her victory, but a victory for women everywhere. According to Piro, the case had set a new precedent. No athlete, no matter how famous, could bend the rules and walk away without paying the price. Piro's words cut like blades and the media spread them faster than a breaking highlight reel. To some, she instantly became a hero, the bold voice standing up for fairness in women's sports. To others, she looked like an opportunist, milking someone else's collapse to boost her own spotlight. But love her or hate her, nobody could deny the truth. Piro owned the moment. She rebranded herself as the iron enforcer of integrity, the woman fearless enough to go head-to-head with one of basketball's biggest giants. And the wild part? She walked out looking stronger than ever. Whether fans were clapping for her or cursing her name, the reality was clear. Jeanine Piro had flipped the script in a way nobody saw coming. Brittney Griner, once the WNBA powerhouse who seemed untouchable, was left stunned and silent while a TV judge paraded off with the win like it was championship hardware. It felt surreal, dramatic, and instantly stamped itself as one of those moments people would replay, argue, and dissect for years to come. And the shockwaves, they hit the WNBA fast. Players across the league were rattled. The idea that one of their own could be sidelined by a courtroom, not an injury or suspension, felt unreal. But behind the scenes, not everyone was mourning. Quiet whispers floated around locker rooms, with some athletes hinting that Griner had been riding her name and reputation for too long. And maybe this ruling just exposed cracks they had noticed all along. Then came the league office, caught in the ugliest bind imaginable. Do they rally around their star and risk looking like they're defending controversy? Or stay silent, hoping the storm fades before it does permanent damage? Either way, the hesitation was glaring. Instead of showing unity, the WNBA looked divided, unsure, and weaker than ever under the spotlight of a scandal they never saw coming. For the younger players grinding to make their names, the message hit hard. Fame doesn't guarantee protection forever. Watching Brittney Griner crash like this was a brutal wake-up call. Even legends can be knocked clean off their pedestal. And when it happens, the shockwaves slam the entire league. Some voices stood tall for Griner, blasting the ruling as unfair, extreme, and way too harsh. But others kept their distance, almost relieved the firestorm wasn't pointed at them and the league. Their silence was deafening. It exposed just how fragile reputations in sports really are, how fast a spotlight that once praised you can flip into a harsh glare that digs into every single crack. Griner's camp moved quick, announcing they'd fight back with an appeal. But legal insiders didn't sugarcoat it. The climb looked steep, maybe impossible. Once a ruling this heavy lands, undoing it isn't just hard, it's a near-dead end. Piro's side knew they were sitting on serious leverage, and that made every counterpunch from Griner's team a risky gamble. Meanwhile, the speculation machine went wild. Fans and commentators alike started buzzing about what Piro might do next. Could she ride this momentum and go after another superstar? Social chatter even tossed out wild names like LeBron James or Serena Williams. Outrageous? Maybe. But the fact that people are daring to picture it shows just how deeply this case rattled the entire sports world. Suddenly, nothing felt untouchable anymore. Not even the biggest icons on the planet. And the storm didn't end with the ruling. Fresh reports started circulating that Brittney Griner's past accolades could be dragged back under the microscope. Titles, medals, career milestones, the very things that built her into a global icon, might now face re-examination under a brutal new spotlight. Imagine that. An entire legacy, not defined by highlight reels and trophies, but by court files and public suspicion. For someone once hailed as untouchable, the idea that her history itself could be ripped apart is the kind of nightmare no athlete ever thinks they'll face. Yet here it was, unfolding in real time. Appeals, investigations, rumors spinning like wildfire, it all screamed one thing. This saga is nowhere near finished. Sure, the courtroom dropped a hammer with that ruling, but Griner's real fight, that's only just beginning. And let's be real. Zoom out for a second and the odds don't look good. This isn't just Griner versus Piro anymore. It feels way bigger than that. A cultural clash playing out on the world stage, with her career caught dead in the middle. At its core, this scandal isn't just about one player losing an Olympic spot. It's about who gets to enforce the rules, who decides what fairness really means, and how much power a courtroom can have over the entire sports world. For years, fans believed the game was settled on the court under the lights, with the scoreboard telling the truth. But this case shattered that belief, showing reputations, medals, and even Olympic dreams can be erased long before the buzzer ever sounds. For Jeanine Piro, this was the ultimate power play. She proved she could step into the sports world, take on giants, and actually walk away with the win. For Brittney Griner, it was the harshest loss of her career, a stain that could shadow her legacy forever, maybe even one she never truly bounces back from. But here's the real question. Was this ruling about pure justice? Or was Griner turned into an example for the whole world to watch? What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this debate is far from over. And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe for more breakdowns, and share this with someone who needs to hear the truth. The next twist in this saga is already loading. And trust me, you don't want to miss it.